Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Once in 2 weeks. That was initial plan. Not like we planned every week and then we failed multiple times. No, we planned ahead. Like we'll have it stable twice a month podcast. No, that's not true.
What we have.
Yes. Today we wanna first of all thank you for all your support to our podcast. This is 5th episode.
Really?
Yes, 5th.
Okay.
We are
beating the
like
odds.
long-term podcasters.
Yeah.
So today we want to talk about cultural differences and
In terms of family.
yeah, there are a
Yeah.
lot. There are a lot, and we might come back to this topic, but with other ideas. But today we want to talk about mostly school/children.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we will have time by the end of this huge discussion. We want to talk about food, which is important too.
And a bit of a parenting styles.
School/kids usually should involve parenting,
Yeah.
at least some.
Yeah.
I think we should start with the fact that it is kind of like in a previous episode that we talked about things that kind of surprised us or were way different from what we got, what we used to. And when it comes to school, probably just to set up the idea, the schools here are very chill.
Too chill.
Yeah,
I'd say.
And it's a bad thing in our opinion. Like, hopefully, our kids will turn to be good citizens, and everything is going to be great. They'll have a great career, but we tend to kind of like fear or think that with this approach, where you have first of all you have to be calm and happy in school and have
all
fun.
the kids have to be the same.
Yeah, everyone has to be the same.
Very calm, very mindful and demure.
Yeah, very demure.
And you can't be active
it feels like it's a dangerous thing from our opinion, and probably we should start with how it was in our school.
Yeah,
I can share a bit of experience from my school.
You can share your experience. I will share my experience. It's two different experiences, very different.
Yeah,
because he was
different.
a boy, I was a girl, obviously, and not so
just
different.
That. Not just that, but I was in a very bad school.
I was in a very good school.
I was
Most
in
of those
very bad
schools were
school.
public schools.
Like we're talking. I'm now I can have joke about it. But back then, I didn't know difference. Like, I thought, like, everyone's school is like that.
You told me you can compare it to jungle.
Yeah, I still do compare it to a jungle where the most powerful survives. It was physical. Like, there was a lot of fighting in school, not just with me, but everyone. And there was, like, hierarchy, right? Hierarchy, who's like in castes or whatever, like, and there was no any sort of education. Like, none of my every school has
you
like
have
unique
education. Like,
you
ended up having knowledge enough to get into university, right?
No.
Yes. Well, you did go to university, so
I did go, but that doesn't mean that I had any knowledge. Like,
but that was enough to get into university.
No, not necessarily. But
how did you get into university then?
Yeah, it's a long story. But what I'm trying to say that it was pretty bad school. I'm not comparing, the whole. I'm not telling the whole Ukrainian school system is like that. But I think it evolved and went hopefully far from what I experienced. But back then, there was little education. We slacked, right? We left. We didn't go to all the lessons. Like, we would go to school, but it didn't necessarily mean that we would go to all the classes.
And the class.
Usually, yeah. But
skipping.
Yeah,
we were skipping.
Yeah, we were skipping. But teachers were like, I think they were mentally not okay. All of them.
Oh my God.
Like now,
You're describing like a juvie.
no. I think they no seriously. Like the sane person wouldn't accept such conditions, such kids, and I can remember vividly that one teacher was I think it was kind of like something like harassment towards kids. Like I can clearly remember things that they did which was highly inappropriate right now, but back then it was funny. It was hilarious, right? And then because he would do it to girls and not, we were just laughing. Like it was crazy, seriously. And then other teachers were like very loudly yelling at us, like
swearing.
They would like not swear words, not
but
cursing.
just harsh words.
Not yeah, sometimes
it wasn't swearing, but it was harsh.
Yeah.
Because they needed to get you all sit and listen.
Yeah, I don't know how you call that when you slap the back of your head.
Slap?
Like a slap, but not slap this side, but the slap on the back of your head. Like teachers would do this constantly to kids. So if they were like very out of control, so it was physical as well, not like nobody punched.
But they wouldn't like spank you with rulers or belt or like, anything. No, that was just.
This thing was regular.
But that was just the maximum there was.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like I first of all, God bless Canada, and God bless any school that is not like this. But here, from what we changed a couple of schools with for our kids, and
3.
It is like what I described is on
the bad side of extreme.
Yeah, it is extreme on the bad side. Thank you. And here I think it's not extreme, but it leading
towards the good side of extreme.
Yeah, a good side, loyal and
soft and kind, no pressure.
And, like how they call that? Gentle.
Yeah, gentle parenting.
No, like
I don't believe in gentle parenting.
Yeah,
sorry.
so that was we will get back to it, but you can tell about how school was for you, because school for me, obviously for any kid, school kind of sets your worldview and everything for you, because then you expect that everything is like the same everywhere, and you kind of like ready to fight everywhere at the university, a job, in your relationship, everywhere.
My school was completely different.
Yeah.
But we like
it's still
the school
odd.
I went to.
I'm so sorry, but it's still odd to me when my kids say that they are excited about school and they want to go there. Not every day, of course, but some things they love.
Sometimes they want to go there.
Sometimes they love something about school. In my 11 years in educational system, or whatever years, I hated every single minute of it.
So I loved my school. Both of us went to public school, so my school wasn't private. My school was just the same type of school that he went to. It was on another side of Kiev. But should
we say that there, when you say public school, it means that
there's
we don't
Catholic schools.
Yeah, we don't have like whole this Catholic story. We just have public school or private schools.
Yeah. So the school that I went to was the same school that my parents went to, and they were classmates, by the way. And half of my classmates' parents went to the same school as well. But there was another school across the road that was just like yours. Like most of the kids from that school went to jail and then went on with their life.
Oh yeah, like I have a couple of my schoolmates are in jail right now.
But my school was really good. The level of education they were giving was very high, and I was fluent in English after graduating school. And it was
just purely because of school?
Yes.
That's insane.
Well, my parents sent me to a few extracurricular courses, and they sent me to live in England for a month in summer, but...
Yeah, purely because of school.
No, obviously. Purely because of school, because when I went to England, short story. When I went to England for a month when I was 14, it was like an exchange program
First of
or
all,
something.
this is weird.
There was a whole bunch of Russian students that we talked Russian, not English. So I don't know why I went there. I just had a great time.
Okay.
So, anyways, I have the best memories of school. I had good friends. Half of my classmates, no, not half, the boys in my class would say they hated school. But the girls would say that they loved, but it really depends on the class. Like, our system is not like Canadian one. So in Canada, the system is similar to university. There's a pool of kids. Everybody goes to their own class, and you can have one set of kids in one class and completely different set of kids in another period.
There's no such thing as your class. Like,
Yeah,
I ask my
your
kids,
group,
like, what is your group? Like,
No, in elementary school there is something like that.
yeah, like
they have
the
their
same
set of kids.
set of kids that you go to school every day,
So
and you
we
see
have
them
that-
every day.
We have that from first grade till grade 11. We have 11 grades. So sometimes they switch, but that switch would happen at the beginning of the year, and you continue for the whole school year with the same set of students, and the teachers change, separate teacher for every class. So there were other class like groups of sets of students. We were divided into like there would be a set of students, let's call it set of students,
Right, because we call it class.
yeah
Class means like group of kids.
yeah, like class of 2024. So we would have class A, class B, class C,
Yeah.
class D, and that would be like class
Different
A
lessons.
would probably and probably let's say class A would be better in math, so they would be given a stronger math teacher. Class B would collect kids that were better in foreign languages, and
I was
another
in
one.
class C, which is bad at everything. So
Yeah, and we had those
and
two.
it's true. Like you have a couple of classes that are like strong in
stronger kids,
something,
weaker
and then you
kids.
have the everyone else.
The leftovers.
I was everyone else.
So we had the class too in our school,
insane.
and they had such a bad homeroom teacher. She would yell at them. She would call the girls all the names she could. She would swear, and like in our school, it was possible for the students and parents to get rid of a teacher that was violent, was inappropriate, was not teaching well. I remember our biology teacher, he was so horrible. He hated kids. He gave every single kid in class a D or C in one of the tests, and was grade 9, I think, and we had exams, and so many kids went to colleges after grade 9, and he spoiled the grades of the whole class. So the parents unfortunately, there was no replacement for him, but if there was, he would get fired. I know that in Canada, it's impossible to get a teacher fired.
Yeah, that's another
unless
story,
he
like-
does something illegal, but otherwise, it's impossible to fire a bad teacher. And I've heard already so many stories about bad teachers, about teachers that don't care about kids, don't care about teaching, that are there just to
For the union.
traumatize kids and their parents as well, apparently. But that's a whole another story.
You can kind of
I
tell that
loved
we
school, but
had some experiences, right?
but I remember in my I was a straight A student, but I remember that our teachers, they had the authority in the class.
Yeah.
They could pressure a
That's
child.
the main word, authority.
Yeah. I see now in contemporary schools, like back in Ukraine, I sometimes see videos of students like swearing and yelling at teachers. In my childhood,
No, that
would mean that your parents would rip your hat off
Yeah.
if they find out that you disrespect a teacher.
Yeah. Yeah, I
there
agree.
are exceptions to it. There are teachers who are not adequate and they need to be put back in place, but that's the parents' responsibility, not the students. We were taught to respect the teacher. We were taught to listen to the teacher. We were taught that your homework is
It's
the
holy.
holy grail.
Yeah.
If you don't do your homework, you die. You end up as a homeless person dying under the fence.
A fact that there's no homework. Like,
Yeah.
no homework.
Like-
we ended up like finding some example math
worksheets.
extra worksheets. Yeah, print them out. Like our kids do them sometimes after work, especially when they come back and we receive some calls that they
Did nothing in school
or something like that. Like they would be doing homework.
Yes.
Extra.
But my school education was very structured. I had homework. I knew I'm responsible for it. My mom taught me that, my parents, not only my mom, my parents taught me that the teacher is not always right. The teacher is, first of all, human and can be wrong.
Very tired human.
But if you want to argue with the teacher, you need to know 100% of the material to have the knowledge to argue. You always have to be respectful, and you always have to remember that he's the teacher, you're the student. And you only argue when you're strongly confident in what you know. So I love that. We both teach our kids the same. But what I find as a mom is that kids here are not being held accountable for not doing homework, for not learning anything, and for just hanging in there in school while they're in elementary school. And then, all of a sudden, in high school,
you have to learn.
You have homework. You have loads of homework. You have responsibility, deadlines. And they're all shocked. I'm like, why don't you do that in elementary school? But my friend told me that it used to be like that in Canada, that teachers had authority in class. But then
they are all scared of parents now, as as we think.
Yeah, I was told many times that when I'm called to school and I'm told like, your kid did this and this, your kid did wrong. I'm like, yeah, okay, I understand. Like he can do this and she can do this, and like I get it. They're not sane. They can do things that I don't agree with. So let's give them consequences. And then I see the teacher's eyes open wide. They're like, okay. Yeah. I'm like, if my son is going crazy during the class, let him help the custodian during the recess. And he wash the floors in the whole school. And they're like,
I think they're reacting like that just because usually when they say something like that to the parents, usually parents come back to, it's your fault. I
sent you the kid.
I gave you a kid for a certain amount of time for you to,
parent?
Teach. And probably expectation is that teachers would be parenting as well, but that's like we even tell some of our teachers or even principal that please discipline.
Give them hard time for not being obedient.
Them if they act as a crazy monkey in the jungle
in a class. Yeah.
So yeah, this is one of the things. Like behavior is one of the things that we feel like here kids have way more freedom, which is unfortunate.
I'm sorry. I also wanted to add that I feel like I was told that the teachers are not allowed to discipline kids and like to do certain do things that are like in our view. They cannot. I don't know.
Like I don't expect them to hit the kid or do something or yell at him. No. But like if everyone's like going to recess, you're staying here and you're doing this, and I'll come back in 10 minutes and see how your progress. Like
they do
something like that.
But the conditions of that. Like our son got in a fight with another boy in school last week, and both of them were suspended from their classrooms. So what they did, they were doing their assignments sitting in a grade 8. This is not a consequence. This is fun. They're hanging out with teenagers, older kids. They're enjoying. They're having a great time. What I would do is that you sit in this classroom at this desk and you do twice the work that you were supposed to do because you were doing the wrong thing.
I just remembered that whenever we did something like horrible. Like we would do something crazy every day, constantly. But when we did something really horrible, they would send us to what's it called? Like
Teacher's room.
no, like praca.
Oh, like
Welding that they our oldest had.
yeah, like
What's the
overall
lesson?
the class. The room where you learn how to weld and work with wood
Yes.
and like
So we had two such classes. In every school in Ukraine has like two classes, which is like amount of hours you have to spend, and then there's two separate rooms where they have all the machines, and one room is all the woodworking stuff
And metal.
another room is all metal stuff. So obviously when it is fun and is interesting to do something like that and learn something. Those were my favorite classes, along with the physical
education.
P,
Gym.
right?
Gym,
Yeah,
as
gym.
gym.
Along with gym. So, and you can imagine when you work with wood or with metal, there's a lot of like waste and garbage, and it's always like messed up and dirty. So what would they would do? They would send these really like crazy kids to clean these rooms, and we would
Exactly.
be cleaning.
But that makes sense. But also, I remember that you can say, "Oh, then the kids are afraid of the teachers." I was never afraid of a teacher.
I was
and
afraid of teachers.
Our whole class had the best teachers in the whole school. And because our like homeroom teacher, the main teacher that we had, she said she was supposed to have a year off, but she said that I'm gonna take this class only if the parents go to the principal and talk the principal into allowing me to choose the teachers. So she chose the best teachers. They were strict, they were demanding, but we were never afraid. Everybody got into university, everybody had great education, and everybody loved those teachers. Even though they had authority, they could give us consequences for not doing something. They would give us tests just randomly because we were going crazy in class. But God, we loved them. I still love them. Those were the best.
Yeah, in our case,
Experience.
when they would send us to clean these workbenches and rooms, they would say like, if you don't want to like learn how to be smart, you have to learn how to be like handy. And that
makes
was an
sense.
idea, and I was
Yeah.
like, please do that to our kids in school if they don't
Yeah.
want to, like teach them to be like a welder or whatever, like, because those people earn like they get a lot of money too if they work a lot.
Yeah, and also I asked my kid's teacher like if he can have some homework home, because in my opinion, like our son is he hates learning because he honestly doesn't understand why he needs it. He's an 11-year-old boy.
He's not
But
motivated.
yeah, he's not motivated at all. So I'm like, I remember myself. I went to school, I came home, did my homework, and then I have free time.
Yeah.
So I worked, I had a little break, I did my assignments, so I worked a bit more. So I asked for homework, and the teacher said that he doesn't have homework because if he finishes all his tasks in class, then it means that he doesn't have homework. But I've
No,
seen
it
those
means
tasks.
that he's too tired and he has to.
He's
like,
not too tired.
rest.
He can do 10 times more.
And rest.
No. No rest.
No.
And I'm like, I saw those assignments he finishes in class. They're done so poorly. They're just done to have a check mark that it's done. I would pressure him to rewrite the whole thing, and that's fine. I don't see it as a traumatizing experience, because I believe that when a child is too young to understand why he or she needs education and needs the knowledge, the parents and the teachers pressure the child. Of course, we're not talking about like traumatizing
Yeah.
pressure. Yes, everything inadequate.
Not like it was in my school because
But
Yeah.
It's the parents, first of all, and then the teacher's responsibility to pressure the child, to create the circumstances where the
Pressure
child
isn't
has,
that a word.
yeah, where the child has no choice but learn.
Yeah.
And then by the time this kid grows up and understands that, oh, I actually need education, then he has the knowledge he needs to keep going.
But also
Otherwise-
I like, but also not just pressure, because I remember there was a lot of pressure. The pressure is what I hated in school, but it will also like many other different things, like the atmosphere, the I don't know, like it has to be fun and interesting, and all these, like I see like kids in our kids do some projects, like
That's awesome, yeah.
like all these things, they are fun and engaging.
Yeah.
That means that they are having fun learning, not just having fun. But even that, like I consider like my school as a bad example, but even in these kind of circumstances, there was a lot of homework and I had to do it. I did it. I terrorized my older sister and my mother to help me with that, but it was crazy in school. Then I get back home and it was even crazier to get my homework done
With your sister.
with you. Oh my
That
God.
was another joke.
Like, you have to know my sister, but overall, when I like didn't do my homework and my parents were too busy to check, because they would constantly be checking me if I did, like they
Yeah.
were kind of like felt partially responsibility for me to succeed in school, but
We have nothing to check here.
yeah, even if in some cases they didn't check and I was like, yes, I can not
Slack?
yeah, I can slack, then I get back to school and they're like, oh, in 5 minutes they're going to be checking our homework, and I like, and what I've learned in school is how to communicate with my peers, how to engage in,
How to cheat.
no,
Be honest.
no, I was how to deal, how to set up a
handle
deal,
situation, yeah.
how to have a business,
Compromise.
yeah, how to set a business with your peers.
Cheating.
No, like and speed. I learned speed. Like when you have 5 minutes,
Speed, right?
yeah, you have 5 minutes to show your homework, and you have a peer that you have a business opportunities with, you would be quick. So, like
Our kids know no speed.
yeah,
They're like, chill.
I'm kidding, but not kidding at all. But my dad says, like, we talk with him right now when I'm way older, and he's like, his school was something similar. It was in Soviet Union, which was even worse. Like, but his idea is that you have to go to university, you have to go to school, just to not necessarily to learn something, but to learn life,
To change your mindset.
yeah, to change your
to
mindset,
mature.
to practice your mental, execution. But that's what worked for me, especially in university, where I had to, negotiate my way through the university. That was it. Like you asked
In
me,
university, I was also studying. So
you asked me-
two different experiences.
No, you asked me like how I didn't learn anything in school and ended up in university. It's first of all, you have to know another thing about Ukrainian education is that higher education, what we call like universities and colleges and all that, we have private and we have
Public.
Public.
Like government owned.
Yeah,
right?
public ones are very hard to get in because you get there only based on your like marks and
Or a big bribe.
or a huge bribe.
For that reason, I didn't go to a public university because I had straight A's in school. But when my parents heard the number they had to pay for me to get into university, and then they would have to pay for every single exam for me to pass.
Yeah.
They're like,
Like
no,
corruption.
we're going to pay for a private one. It's going to be cheaper.
I feel like corruption now in Ukraine in terms of like in educational system is way lower.
Yeah.
But back then, like 20 years ago or even more, it was horrendous. So it was everywhere. That's why you better go to a private university that could be like very small, like we're talking couple of groups, couple of year, what is it, like first year, second year, third year,
Yeah.
like you would have couple of a couple of group of kids on every year, and it's a small building, but usually teachers there are they like combining their work at some university, like government university, and then they go to this like small private university as a part-time.
Or my teachers were working in some big corporations.
Yeah,
like finance teacher worked in some company as a finance director,
and also,
so she would teach finances.
So I went. So it made way more sense to be paying and
Legally paying.
And, be legally paying, be open about it. So there was no way, there was no sense to go to public.
Back to schools.
But actually, I just graduated, and then my parents started to pay everything they had for my university.
Education.
Like it was expensive for them, and I'm beyond grateful for them to actually paying my way through this whole university, paying for university. But it was interesting. It was way more. I think I kind of like started to feel like the education, the learning process could be fun only in university, because there were a couple of teachers. There were I remember my philosophy teacher. I remember my logic teacher. We had a class called logic.
Yeah.
And the dude was he was crazy. Like it was like Netflix show. Like he would ask questions, and then we would talk about these questions the whole class, and we would argue, and it was engaging. Like it was interesting.
But that's awesome. That's the learning process.
That's a talented teacher.
Yeah.
I believe that you could have those in like even grade 1 all the way to everyone.
I had a history teacher in school. She only worked in our school for a semester and a half, and then her parents got her fired, which was insane for me. She was the most amazing teacher, an unconventional teacher that I've ever had in both school and university. So that's why she got fired, because what she told us to do, like one of those, a few things that I remember, she was a history teacher, like world history. So she would tell us, take your books, take a highlighter, and highlight key points in this chapter. And then she would give us marks. She would mark us on how we highlighted. This is very good thing to do, because
taught you how to learn,
how to find the key points, because there were a few students that were just highlighting random stuff or too much, and she's like, no, this is too much. Everything cannot be key point, right? Then this is one of the things. And then she taught us how to create cheat sheets. Why? Because
if you create one, you probably
learn
know
everything. You need to read, analyze, think, and then structure all your knowledge to create a perfect cheat sheet. And then she taught us to create like visual graphs with pictures, and every single part of that picture would mean something. And you are allowed to use that during the test, because once you do that, you actually learn.
So the teacher was cheating.
But this was so amazing. This was so fun and interesting. A few students didn't like it in our class, and another one, she got fired.
I love that you said we had a teacher, but then parents got her fired.
Yeah.
Just if you're from Canada, like, can you imagine that? What would you leave us a comment? With your ideas. What would happen if back in your days, teachers had parents had this much power? And it's true. It wasn't hard. It was like it would take a couple of parents' meetings where all the parents would be like united in some idea that someone does a bad job for some reason, and usually that doesn't take long for the person to actually be fired.
But also, like, we were talking about our school experience,
Yeah.
but our kids, here's the thing. When our oldest daughter started school, she went to public school, just the same type of school that we went to. We switched to private school when she was in the middle of grade 2.
And
But
in this case, it's very important to explain that private schooling for which is called preschool here, right? No, not preschool, but elementary school.
yeah.
Private elementary schools in Ukraine is very rare, and usually they are very expensive and they very like high elite, and very expensive, and no one goes there for elementary.
Yeah.
But since we have, and we didn't mention that too, so since we have a kid in school from grade 1 to grade 11, which means both elementary and high school is in one building. All the kids are in the one building. And they have like usually different floors.
There were some changes recently, but I wasn't into...
There is no like facility that's called high school, which contains only like older kids. No, everyone goes to one place, and you have like little chipmunks, and you have dude like that could
70 years old.
Potentially leave school and go to army, because usually if you don't go, that's the system, you graduate when you're 17 or 18 sometimes, and you can go to army, and you have to actually go to army
if you don't get it to university
when you're 18. So they made it the system even starting from Soviet Union. It's very old. So if you when you graduate, you either go to have a higher education, which is university or college or whatever, or you go to army and then whatever.
Yeah. So we switched to a private school. Our private school is not like those elite private schools. Our private schools was an alternative Christian school that was funded by missionaries all over US, I think, and it was
principal was American, and she is still American.
She has half of the teachers are from US, and they're missionaries. This was the best school experience in our life and in the life of our kids. So our oldest daughter got to experience the public school in Ukraine, and she was doing competitive rhythmic gymnastics dance. She would have 24 hours of training a week, and that would be 4 hours every day, except Sunday. And she would come home and start doing homework. I'm like, and then her teacher would give her numerous amount of the same type of assignments, like those short math equations. And I'm like, okay, you did 3 pages, you did like 50 equations, just leave it and go to bed. I know, she was a straight A student, and I'm like, I know, I don't need you to do this, just let it go. And she would cry because she told me that the teacher will be yelling at her tomorrow if she's not done with her homework. At that point, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it with I'm gonna deal with her.
That was just a regular.
That's an extreme, but that was an extreme. But also, like that happened once. Then I explained her, like, no grade and no school is worth your health, your sleep, your like mental capacity and mental health. And she never, like, we always knew that if you're doing great in school, you can skip a day, you can skip a class, I don't care. Like, as long as you study.
That's why our teenager rarely goes to school now.
No, she doesn't rarely go to school. But
like every week she has 1 day off.
No, we agreed on 1 day a month.
that doesn't work so far.
So, no, she didn't want to holiday.
But she's straight A too. Like,
what?
She's straight A too.
Yeah, she has straight A. So, really, as long as the kid studies and has good grades, I don't care. Otherwise, but when we switched her to private school, and then our younger kids went to the same private school as well, she still had lots of homework. She still had lots of assignments. But the teachers were building the educational process in a way that she knew she would be held accountable if she doesn't submit an assignment on time.
But it was also very engaging and fun.
At the end of grade 2, can you imagine? At the end of grade 2, she was crying. on the last day of school that she doesn't want the summer break. She doesn't want the school to end.
She was really crying when we left Ukraine.
Yeah, that was...
She wouldn't go to that school. It was probably the most painful thing for her, at least.
Yes. Overall, like, she's still... Like, it's interesting, but back in Ukraine, she loved math. She had, like, high 90s, I would say, if you transfer the grades into local system, in her math and science. But here, once she started high school, she never went lower than 80, though. Her average is above 80, but after 2 years of high school, she said, I don't want to have anything in my life related to math or science, because in grade 9 and 10, she had horrible teachers. Well, they were not horrible.
It depends on the teachers.
They were just not... They were not doing as a good job. She now has a teacher that is amazing, and she's like, I love math. I remember why I love math. It's enjoyable.
Which sounds crazy to me, and I just want to... Yeah, when you say, like, well, she never went lower than 80, which is, like, when I was in school, we had a system that was...
12.
Like, no, 12, not 12.
12.
5.
I had 12 already.
I
you
had
did too.
12 by the end of, like, it was in high
Few
school.
last years, yeah.
Few last years, but most of my time at school, like my time in prison, like my time in school, was you had like 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. 5 is the highest mark you can get. Like 1 is the lowest. Like it's very bad.
Like if you do nothing and you piss the teacher off, they're like, you get 1.
Yeah. But what started to happen way more often the older I got, and it was like common in university that teachers, whenever there was a test or like some really important tests, teacher would announce, like at the beginning of test, teacher would announce, like, listen up, if anyone wants 3, which
that's
is
C.
That's C, like, which is that's important. I don't know if C is a minimum, the like lowest mark you can get in order to pass.
No,
to pass,
not the lowest.
Yeah,
the lowest.
in our case, it was like the lowest, but you pass. Like if you had 2 or 1, it's you failed.
I cried over a B.
And you have to take. So teachers would like get rid of everyone
who didn't want to learn, and they would just literally ask who wants C and leave, and I was like the first one who would raise my hand because there was no way I would get C by my knowledge. No, but then he comes to my university, sits in my class. I went to university that was our teachers would teach us in English because they were Americans. And I remember that he came over to visit me in the university, and I had accounting class. He learned Ukrainian accounting. I learned American accounting. Those are 2 completely different systems. He would get C's just for free in university, but then he comes to my class and he's like, oh, that's easy. I'm like, I can't understand it. He's like, why? This works this and this way. I'm like, no,
because
why don't you go get a better grade?
No, you can't. You have to. That was the case just because accounting, like tax or like accounting system in US is so much way more simpler and easier than in Ukraine back then. Now it's changes. It simplifies
it's still
a lot.
Mess.
It is very sophisticated. Like it's very hard.
Yeah, lots of numbers.
Yeah, but in what I've heard there was way easier. So I think we can continue to talk about schools because overall we just want to see more accountability from like
kids need to know the authority of a teacher.
Yeah, and
they need to be
teachers,
held accountable.
And teachers need to be more Discipline more, because otherwise, like, kids not gonna learn anything.
Yeah,
in
I know our
opinion.
kids will always take advantage and use the situation when they can do nothing instead of doing
especially
something.
especially like I don't want it to sound like, hey, you have our kids for half a day, please do your job, like, not like that.
No.
Just because, we had like and still kind of like experience it, but it's getting better, have pretty big problems with behavior for our son, right? And we didn't know what to do, and teachers didn't know what to do, and it's just a first meeting we had. I was like, let's set a system with a smiley face or sad face or neutral face, and every teacher after every class would just draw
A smiley
face in some kind of a journal, and we would be talking, and we would be analyzing, and kid will have consequences for a lot of smiley faces, good consequences, a lot of sad faces, bad consequences. Like, we came up with some sort of the system. I think our teachers were like, heard about it, and they thought about it as some rocket science, like it's so cool, let's do it. And we started doing it, and it helped, and we're still continuing doing that.
I also tell our teachers, like, if our son like misbehaves and he's going nuts, just leave him indoors, make him clean something, make him work physically, because that will use up his energy. That will teach him that you don't get to have fun unless you do the job first.
I think the teacher is scared just because,
but they're not allowed to.
Yeah, you say that, and then kid cleans something, I don't know, some
drinks bleach.
Drinks bleach, or something crazy happens, and then we're like, we didn't tell you that, and we sue you, and I think that happens.
Well,
because
this is where it gets crazy, because probably there are reasons why it is the way it is right now in Canada, because I heard so many times that the teachers were stripped of their rights and authority in class, unfortunately. And I see it
because
as an unfortunate
every time it's because of some real
but
cases.
Also real cases might be about the teachers also, who are using their position of authority to do things inappropriate.
When we lived in Ukraine, and when I was a kid, we used to have a joke about Americans, but I feel like it is the same thing with Canadians. That I don't know if it's true. I think it's true, but when you buy a microwave oven, in the manual it says you cannot dry a cat in there, like inside.
Because there was a case where a lady tried to try a cat there,
and everyone was having fun, that how stupid can you be to try that.
But it's not it's not how stupid, it's just probably one case is enough of a person who just didn't think.
Yeah, I just brought it up just to prove the point that usually when something is malfunctioning, and I think in some way educational system in this regards is malfunctioning. That's my idea. That's my thought. And that's because of cases, and that's bad. I don't know what can be changed about it, but that's bad.
Also, another question for you. When I was in grade 1 and 2, we were learning the multiplication table by heart.
Oh, that's crazy.
And we were supposed to learn it and
by memory.
Recite it by memory, which I consider to be absolutely right. And our daughter did this, and our son would do this, but the war started and we moved here. So he's now in grade 6. This summer, I gave him some math worksheets, and they had some multiplication in there. And he's like, can I have a multiplication chart? I'm like, what? A multiplication what? Dude, have to count yourself. Wait, and he's like, no, we use calculators and multiplication charts in class. In grade 6.
You know what I remembered? Like, we would learn in any class, we would memorize some stupid stuff that we thought stupid. like multiplication chart. In
Poems?
in Ukrainian literature. Thank you. We had the class that called Ukrainian literature, but we would like every month you had to memorize a huge poem. And you would stand before a whole class
and recite it.
And recite it, yes. And it was embarrassment. Like every time it was, and someone would yell something and help you, and you're like, and it was a humiliation, like
but
every month for me. But there were kids who would memorize the whole poem, but they don't do that here, like, right?
You don't do this
what
here.
What do they memorize?
Nothing. I know our daughter learns formulas, and I made our son to learn the multiplication chart. So he comes home the other day. He's like, you know what? Everybody uses the multiplication chart. I'm the only one who doesn't use it in class. I'm like, but no way.
You know, like it's...
Like grade 6, that's insane. And our daughter, the youngest one, she started her education here. And I'm gonna freaking torture her. She's gonna learn it.
just the fact that
I'm not taking that.
I don't remember any of those poems now, obviously, but it's just a flex for your muscle.
That's training your memory.
Yeah, it is training your brain.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of school is not like learn something, because I don't believe anyone can learn anything in school. It's just to train your brain to
think.
To exercise. That's like a gym for your brain, but nothing else. And
unfortunately, our daughter has such a bad memory. I tried making her learn like 4 lines of a poem, and she can't.
But she can learn like a song just by 2 times hearing it.
Yeah.
Which means that it's a motivation thing.
It's a motivation thing, but also, like, again, why not learn things instead of giving kids calculators and cheat sheets to use it? Like, they will...
It's again, like a very philosophical question, because why...
Why bother learning something you don't need?
No,
but the multiplication...
not that. Why bother learning a beautiful handwriting when last time I handwrote, I was like, no, I'm not doing that, and I hide it.
Because this is your gross motor skills and the fine motor skills and your memory and your thinking and your hand coordination and your eye coordination. That's the skills that are the base for everything else.
Probably you're right, but like we just recently talked that our youngest son, whenever he does some homework or some assignment at his Chromebook, his laptop, he doesn't type, because probably he doesn't know how to spell correctly, which is, again, sad, but he would dictate.
But also, wait, he doesn't know how to spell correctly because English is not his first language. He can read, he can speak fluently, but he doesn't write all the words right.
But he doesn't do that fluently in Ukrainian too, so he doesn't have any...
in Ukrainian he can write and read. He still can read in Ukrainian. He remembers it.
Okay.
So for now I'm letting it go.
Okay, but my idea is that it's kind of like philosophical question that we teach people to drive manual. We still teach kids to drive manual when the first time they would actually be driving, there won't be even probably gas cars, only electric or whatever. Like, they will all be automatic. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think we're gonna be dictating soon enough. We'll be just thinking about stuff, and it will happen on a screen or whatever. But
then the light goes off, the storesman comes, and he doesn't know.
And then you have to handwrite.
And then you don't know how to write. and you don't know how to read because you listen to the books all the time.
You're on Desert Island and you want to write help
you don't know
on the sand, and you don't know, and you like dictate to the sand, help.
Exactly.
Help. Yeah, I can see that happening actually. That's not.
I believe in old school teaching, and I also don't think the kids in grade 5 and 6 need Chromebooks or anything.
Yeah, but
They can well learn using books and pencils and pens and workbooks. So
and then do you show up to a work interview knowing how to write with a pencil and how to do a multiplication board without cheat sheet? And then they're like,
explain me this.
bye.
You are working as a lawyer. You need to read a contract and find the mistakes.
You won't be, as a
If
lawyer, you
you-
won't be reading contract. ChatGPT gonna summarize it like
Yeah,
summary and-
ChatGPT makes mistakes, and only like how do you find a mistake in the text?
ChatGPT find mistakes in text.
He doesn't find mistakes.
I can be a lawyer right now.
You can't.
100%. Like you just upload. Like recently, I had a contract at my work. I had a contract and that I had to go through. I just uploaded to ChatGPT and said, "Hey, we're trying to do this deal. Is it fine? Is everything good?" In ChatGPT, it said like, "These are the things you need to." Take a look, and I'm like, yeah, that's.
You know how
it's
many
all fine.
times I asked ChatGPT something, he gave me an answer. I'm like,
Yeah,
wait,
but then I sent it to.
this might be wrong. Isn't this and this? And he's like, oh, you're right. This and
Yeah, but then I sent it to our lawyers and said, hey, I already read it through ChatGPT, and they said like, never do that, please.
exactly.
Please, but I was like,
It's like using Wikipedia for research. You get an F automatically.
okay, I think we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna talk about food because it is very important about food in the next episode. But this was an episode where we're whining for an hour about how awful education. No, it's not awful. It's
not
still
awful.
like at the end of the day, kids most likely love go to school.
Yeah.
Probably because you're just having fun then and learn nothing and no pressure. But again, like rewatch this episode. But
overall, like
at least they will be will grow up sane people.
exactly. Like I just wanted to say there are also benefits to this system that in Ukraine some kids can handle the pressure, some kids can't, like in any country, right?
School
and you
would
never
break
know.
you.
Yeah, and you never know which kind of a kid you have in your class. So you pressure everyone. Somebody breaks, somebody handles it well, somebody succeeds under pressure.
Yeah, but
But
that's like a jungle. Like survives and becomes successful the one whose parents taught him how to handle a pressure, helped him to, come through, to go through all the challenges, and then this kind of person is trained enough to be successful.
Yeah,
and
but
if
then
everyone's is lullabying you all the time everywhere, and then in the big corporations or even in your own business, like either way you will go, like your own business, it'll be rough. You go to corporation and anything in between, it will be rough because life is that way.
yeah, but like the approach of the local educational system is that you are gentle and nice with the kids while they're small, not to hurt them, not to traumatize them.
Where do we start?
So that by the time they grow up until probably grade 8 or 9, they are like they're not as sensitive.
They said enough to
Yeah, so they grew up in a safe like capsule, but they're mature enough to handle pressure. But also it's really so individual. Like some kids need hell of a pressure.
Yeah.
Some kids can't even handle a teacher giving a side eye. So it's very
there.
No, I mean like some kids need gentle approach from the teacher and say like, hey, you're here to learn. Right now you need to do this assignment. Please do so. And that should be fine. And that kid would do the assignment. And another one.
Should we talk about in some episode how you are getting into and learning a lot about homeschooling?
I started learning about homeschooling.
No.
But
please tell her no. Just
I don't
tell
think
her in
so.
comments no. Just forget about it. No. Yes. And
I just don't think so because I have a very short fuse. So
thank you.
If they don't understand what I'm saying from the first time, that's gonna be be traumatizing, they better go to school.
Yeah. At least they leave the house for a couple of hours. Please, God. And then all I will hear is that you are yelling and you are
No, at some point I will stop yelling. I will stop being nervous. So
yeah.
Can you already just stop learning?
Can you already stop being nervous?
No, I'm just...
Thank you very much for watching our podcast. And please support us, giving us likes, comments, and subscribes.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.